Dr. Eric Pearl je svoju lekarsku karijeru otpočeo kao jedan od najuspešnijih hiropraktičara u Los Angelesu, gde je 12 godina vodio ordinaciju. Posle 1993. kada su zabeleženi prvi slučajevi isceljenja pacijenata, dr. Pearl se u svom radu, ne osporavajući domete savremene medicine, okrenuo otkrivanju nekih nepoznatih mogućnosti i pomeranju granica u pristupu lečenja. Njegova knjiga Rekonekcija leči sebe, leči druge, koja je do sada prevedena na 26 jezika, upravo je dobila i svoje 27. srpsko izdanje, upućuje na otkrivanje neiskorišćenih energetskih potencijala lečenja, odnosno na drugačije poimanje funkcionisanja samog procesa izlečenja i samoizlečenja. Rad doktora Erika Perla zainteresovao je istraživače u mnogim medicinskim institucijama, među kojima su Jackson Memorialna bolnica, Minnesota univerzitet, UCLA, Miami univerzitet i nekoliko uglednih klinika. Uskoro će objaviti rezultate svojih istraživanja. Dr. Eric Pearl drži predavanja širom sveta, a tokom jednog seminara sreli smo ga u Atini, odakle je nastavio put u Barcelonu da bi polaznike sledećeg seminara upoznao sa svojim pristupom po mnogo čemu izvan granica poznatog.
I think there is no better place in the world to talk about mystery of life. Maybe one day we will be able to reconnect whole history of civilization, but for now it is only the bad metaphor. Today we will speak about mystery of human body or maybe mind, I don't know enough about it. Our guest is Dr. Eric Pearl, and the method that he's using is called reconnection. And that knowledge about from the medicine is helping, or it doesn't matter for that thing that you do now?
It really makes no difference at all what your background is. It makes no difference whether you have a background in being a medical doctor, in being an energy healer, or whether you're a plumber, or an electrician. This has to do with us becoming more evolved as human beings. Everything else in our background that we bring into this is like bringing in various colors and hues to a painting. They all contribute, but no one color or hue is better than the next. The healings demonstrate themselves physically, but it's broader than that. It's more like bringing things into a state of balance, because there's no such thing as a physical healing by itself. Healings are physical, and yet they also include mental, emotional, and spiritual. We know that we see physical tissue change in the human body virtually instantaneously. For instance, these past 2 weekends, we just interacted with a couple of people who had had surgical limitations to the movement of their arms. They couldn't move their arms past here. They had metal plates. They had pins surgically implanted, and we worked with them for just a couple of moments, really, a minute at most, and suddenly they regained full range of motion. So somehow or other we recognize that tissue changes occur outside of the limitations and the constraints of how we perceive time. But I think we might get a larger understanding of this if we just come in a touch from the background of how it happened, if that's all right. Okay. I was a chiropractor. I was a chiropractic doctor. I still am by license. And one day a few strange things happened. My lamp next to my bed turned itself on, woke me up. I felt as if there were people in my house, which is a very uncomfortable feeling to wake up to. Let's just say I got up very bravely with a knife, a can of pepper spray, and my Doberman pinscher, and went hunting. And I looked all through the house for a good 15 or 20 minutes. And pretty soon it became clear that there definitely still felt as if someone was in my home. I also knew I could look all night and I'd never find them, and I'd be a wreck for my patients if I didn't get some sleep, so I went back to bed. Monday, when I went into my office, 7 of my patients insisted that they felt someone in the room there with me, standing, walking, running, and 2 of them said it actually felt as if someone was flying around in the ceiling. Now, this was my 12th year in practice, and no one had ever said anything like this to me before, so you would think that this would have gotten my attention. But other people were saying that they could feel my hands before I touched them. And I thought, well, that sounds a little strange to me. I would say, close your eyes, I told them, and I'd move my hands in different angles or directions, and they could tell me, right shoulder, left foot. So it became a game, I guess, because it was my office and I could have whatever games I wanted. And as I played with this and they felt these sensations, my palms blistered a couple of times, and my palm actually bled once, not like a stigmata, but more as if you take a pin or a needle and accidentally stick your palm, that little bit of blood that sort of comes out. And at the same time, people started having healings, getting up out of wheelchairs, vision returning, hearing coming back. They were coming in showing me their laboratory results where their cancer tumors had vanished. Not all of them, but a lot of them. Enough people were having these healings so that we knew something definitively real was going on. So my patients would call and say, what did you do? And I say, nothing, and don't tell anyone. And of course that made everyone start talking. And the next thing I know, people are saying, teach this. I'm thinking, teach it? I mean, no one left me a manual. I don't know what it is. How can I teach it? But more and more of my patients would call me up when they got home from their visits and say, I walked into my house and my lamp turned itself on, or my stereo, or my television, and I turned it off, and 10 minutes later it turned itself on again, so I left it on, and 10 minutes later it turned itself off, and I felt strange sensations in my hands, so I would hold my hands by someone in my family, and suddenly my grandfather could walk again after the stroke, and my uncle regained the use of an arm or a leg. And we found that once you begin to interact with these, what researchers considered to be a broader, more comprehensive spectrum of healing than we've been able to access before, once you interact with this, you seem to be able, it seems to somehow activate something within you or bring something to life that allows you to access it again and again to facilitate healings for others. So in other words, it's not about me. Once you interact with this, you can learn to do anything and everything that I can do, and anything and everything that any healing practitioner on this planet can do, whether they live in Brazil, in the jungles, or in a mountaintop in Tibet. So we took a group of people. The University of Arizona was one of the first research locations that said, all right, let's see how this works. So they invited me to come out, took a group of people who wanted to learn the work, and before I got there, put them into laboratories and measured them with controlled, double-blinded, randomized studies, heart waves, brain waves, gamma radiation emissions, all sorts of things. And then I came out, I let people feel this, interact with them, show them how to use it. It's the same thing we'll be doing when we bring this to Serbia. Now, we've always been able to access this. So what makes it different, according to the researchers, is that they think we are now able, once you interact with what we call the reconnective healing spectrum, to access much more of it. And I said, well, how can you explain that? If it's all God, it's all love, it's all universe, how can you suddenly access more of it? And he said, well, it really makes sense if we understand two basic concepts. The first concept is we are four-dimensional beings. Now, I know and you know we all went to school and learned that we were three-dimensional, height, width, and depth. But Einstein had been telling us since the early part of the last century that we're four-dimensional beings, height, width, depth, and the fourth dimension is time. It took us a while to understand and for science to accept that time was the fourth dimension, but in the year 2000, science came around and said, we're four-dimensional. We didn't grow a new dimension. We've always been four-dimensional, but we didn't recognize time as the fourth dimension until recently.